Welcome to the Pearlcast, episode 7. My name is Angie, also known as You Knitted Skeins on Instagram and Ravelry. This is a knitting and spinning and sometimes crochet podcast. If you are returning, thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support that I've been getting from you lovely viewers. And if you're new, welcome. I hope you enjoy your time here with me. And if so, I would invite you to subscribe, like, and comment. I would love to hear from you. Okay, so let's get going. We will start with, as always, finished objects. So as you can see, my Getty tee is finished. I will show some B-roll here so you can get a full look of how it looks on completely rather than just the top. This was a pattern by Tanis Lavallee. She calls for a US 6 4mm needle for this. I ended up going down a needle size to US 5, a 3.75mm, which is normal for me. I am a little bit looser knitter, so I generally do have to go down a needle size to get gauge. I used the granny squares are scraps and minis from my stash, so I'm not going to go over those, but for the gray yarn, I used Earth yarns in their Harvest DK, and that was the colorway Time, which is 165. This is the first time I've ever used this yarn, and honestly, I think it's gonna be the last. It feels nice, and it's got some nice drape, but it's very splitty. There are about 6 or so plies to this yarn, and they're very loosely spun. So the twist comes out. I have a little bit here left, and I'll try and show you here. As you're knitting with it, you can see it's very loosely spun, and it just becomes unspun very easily. And so then it splits easily. Wasn't my favorite to work with. I will say that out of all the lovely yarns out there, I probably will not choose this one again. This is what I have left out of 4 skeins. That's really all I have to say. I love this finished object. As you can see in the B-roll, it's got some nice drape. It feels nice. The V-neck comes down a little bit farther than what I would like. I used the larger size count for the front than I did for the back because obviously I'm bigger than a B cup, which is what most patterns are written for. And so I was trying to make a little more room so that I had less tenting in the front so that the front would be more even with the back. And I did not think about that as I was knitting. And so I took the V-neck as low as that larger size said, where I should have done the numbers for the smaller size. But it's fine because I can wear my tank top or a cami underneath it and it looks just fine. But I can't wear it without anything because that's just a little more than I want to show. This was a very fun knit. I have knit several of Tanis's patterns and have enjoyed every one. I love the granny square start. It's a saddle shoulder type construction with the granny squares. You start with the granny squares, then you pick up stitches along one set, cast on your neck stitches, pick up the other shoulder stitches. You work some short rows in the back and then knit straight to a certain depth. Then you pick up stitches in the front and do the same thing. Short rows, which last time I said the short rows were to build the V-neck, that was incorrect. The short rows are to build the sleeve here. So that gives you the sleeve so that when you get done, all you have to do is pick up stitches and knit ribbing for the sleeve, which is what I did because the length was just great with that ribbing added on there. So other than the changing of the stitch count on the front, that I believe is the only modifications that I made to this sweater. So great pattern, love it. Would definitely knit it again, just in a different main yarn for sure. So that's my first finished object. Now, I think I mentioned in my last episode that I was getting ready to head out on vacation. So I had a lot of extra knitting time that I normally don't have. So I did actually get a lot done. I worked on some socks for my husband and I. I showed you that yarn last episode, the Grand Old Flags yarn. That's the name of the colorway, Grand Old Flag, and it's from the Painted Tiger. And it's self-striping yarn with red and white and blue stripes, and the blue stripe has white dots so that it looks like stars. So it was really cool. I finished both pairs of those for my husband and I. This is my husband's socks. The very end of the toe and the heel I did in Knit Pick Stroll in the Firecracker Heather. I asked him if he wanted red or blue for his heels and toes, because since we were both using the same yarn, we had to have some way to differentiate them. So he chose red. That is his. Here it is on a sock blocker. So I think this turned out great. I love this yarn. It was nice to work with. It feels nice, and I just love the way she dyed that. So that's his sock. And then I finished my sock as well. As I said, I differentiated them a little. I put a pop of white at the top of mine since it started on with blue. And then I used blue for the toe. And that blue is the Regia 4 Fadig, which is a 4-ply, which is a fingering weight. And that is in the color 540. And this is yarn I picked up when I was in Germany. I mean, I'm sure you can get it anywhere, but Regia, Opal, all that is all over the place in Germany. And then the heel I did in Knit Pick Stroll in just the plain white. Again, I did the white pop at the top, knitted, the blue is the heel, and then I used white for the heel, blue on the toe here, and then I used white on the heel. Here is mine on a sock blocker. I am very happy with how these turned out. I don't know that we're going to actually wear them on the 4th of July, but I thought with this year being the 250th anniversary of the United States being a country, I thought it would be fun to have some 4th of July socks. I imagine it's going to be a little too hot to be wearing wool socks, and I'll probably be wearing shorts, and they don't look great with shorts. Those are my second and third finished objects. Oh, I also used a size 0 2mm needle on those socks. I am, like I said, a little bit looser of a knitter, so in order to get the gauge that I like, I have to use a size 0. And my last finished, my last knitted finished object, I used the yarn Capra DK from Knit Picks in the Hemlock Heather. I know you know what one I'm talking about. This is the sweater that I made for my coworker. I did get it finished, and it turned out so good, you guys. Check it out. Is that not beautiful? I've had her try it on a couple of times in the process of making it so that I could check length, arm length. She did originally want long sleeves, but I did not have quite enough yarn to do long sleeves. I forgot when I was figuring out how much yarn to tell her to get that she was wanting it longer than the version, and so I didn't take that into account and add extra yarn. So we didn't quite have enough yarn for long sleeves. I asked her if she wanted long. I said, we have enough for 3/4 sleeve, or do you want long? If so, you'll need to get another ball. She said 3/4 was fine. So here is a picture of her wearing it. So she was super thrilled with this sweater, and I'm thrilled with the way it turned out. If you have never worked with the DK Capra, it is awesome. It's so soft and lovely, and it's a nice price point for a cashmere merino blend. I think if I remember correctly, when I was looking online, I think they're having their summer sale. So they have a lot of their yarn anywhere between 20 and 60% off right now. So if you're interested, go check it out. I definitely recommend working with it. It was really nice yarn to work with. I used the US 10 6mm for the body that the pattern calls for. By the way, I'm sure you know, but the ranunculus pattern is by Midori Hirose. I also used 10.5 6.5mm for the sleeves because I have heard that if you are working on a smaller circumference, sometimes your gauge gets a little bit tighter. So I wanted the sleeve gauge to match the body gauge. So I did that. And then I used US 8 5mm for the ribbing. And then my last finished object, which is a spinning finished object, is another one of those minis from the Hobbledehoy. Let's see if we can get, there we go. So I am pretty happy with the way these are working up. So now I have 3 minis, and like I said last time, I'll figure something fun to do with these once they're done. But I do feel like I'm starting to get my rhythm and skill set back on the spinning wheel that I had before I had stopped spinning for 8 years. So I'm very happy about that. I'm going to continue with that. That's it for finished objects this week. Let's go to works in progress. I mentioned in my last 2 episodes that I found an old whip from 8 years ago called Indigo Frost by Isabel Kramer. That was needle adjacent at that time. Well, since I finished the ranunculus, I did get to work 1 day this week on that project. I didn't get a ton done, but this is the Indigo Frost that I had started 8 years ago. When I showed it to you the first time, this orange marker is where I was at. So with 1 day of working on this at work on my lunch and breaks, I was able to get a little bit more done. So it has, in the section that I'm just in the eyelet section now. I've got all the slips color work done. There are 3 sets of eyelets, and I am on set number 2. So it did take me a couple minutes to figure out where in the pattern I was, because I had been working on this pattern on Knit Companion on my iPad, but I had changed iPads since then. That pattern was no longer on my new iPad, so I had to figure out where I was. I'm in the second set of eyelets, and I just finished the first repeat of it. You do, for set 2, you do 2 sets of the repeat, which is 8 rows, and then you do another repeat of the first 3 to finish that out, and then an increase round. So that's about 20 rows, and I got about 8 yesterday at work. I'm hoping this will be done by next time, because I don't have that much left to do. I've got, like I said, about 12 more rows on set 2, and then probably about 20-ish or so rows on set 3. Once you get through set 3, you work to a certain length, but I measured where I'm at, and with my gauge, I think that I'll be pretty close to that length by the time I finish that last section. And if so, then I can start the ribbing. If not, go a little bit further and do the ribbing at that point, and then I'll be all done. So I will definitely have that for the fall when it starts getting cooler, and I may actually leave it at work through the summer, because it is freaking cold in there with the air conditioning in the summer. It's crazy. Okay, so that's my Indigo Frost. I'm happy that I'm starting to work on it. I'm glad it's out of needle adjacent. The other work in progress that I have, you have not seen. I don't think I've even talked, it wasn't even a needle adjacent last episode because I wasn't sure what top I was going to start after I finished the Getty Tea. And I did finally make a decision. I did mention this briefly, I think in one of my earlier episodes when I finished that Happiness Worsted in the Aubergine Rowan DK silk, because I had a lot of that left over, and so I had enough for a tea. That is the Rowan Baby Merino Silk DK, and that's in the Aubergine colorway. So I do have a wintertime sweater out of this yarn, which I love working with this yarn, and I believe it's discontinued now. It's hard to source. Sometimes you can find it in people's stashes on Ravelry, which is where I got the Aubergine purple colorway. I had gotten so much because I wasn't sure how much I was going to need that I ended up having 2 sweaters worth. The sweater that I'm working on now is the Tolsta Tee by Rebecca Clow. She calls for a US 8 5mm for the body and a US 6 4mm for the ribbing. I actually did get gauge with the US 8, but I had, let me find my gauge swatch here. I had previously figured I would have to go down. So when I did my gauge swatch, I did 3 needles. I did a 7, a 6, and a 5mm, or US 7, US 6, US 5. I actually liked the fabric that I was getting with the US 7 better than the recommended gauge. Like I said, I did get that actually with the US 8, which the gauge is 17 stitches across 4 inches. What I got with the US 7 was 18 stitches across 4 inches, and I like that fabric a little bit better. So I decided to go with the US 7, and then I just picked the size up from what I would have knit. I used that size instead to make up for the smaller gauge, and I think it's going to be a good size. It's going to work out just fine. This is my Tolsta Tee, and as you can see, I got quite a bit done. So I started this on the return trip from Texas, and I have gotten about 3 inches, 2.5, 3 inches from the underarm. And then I went back and picked up for the sleeves and finished the sleeves. So now I'm just working on the body, and I'll go until I get to the length I want and then put on the ribbing, and then I'll be done. So I may be wearing this on the next episode. I hope so. I am doing, one of the things I love about Rebecca Clow's patterns are the options that she gives you in each pattern. So it's well worth the money if you want to make one of her patterns, because she gives you so many options. Also, she puts in a lot of bust shaping, because as I mentioned, most patterns are written for a B cup measurement, and I'm obviously not a B cup measurement. She's got modifications for larger busts. That is what I'm doing for the first time. She has you increase more on the raglan increases and in certain ways for whatever size you're doing. And then you get to the fullest part of your bust, and then you add vertical darts to decrease to bring that back in from those extra stitches. Where I'm at now, the next row I'm going to do on this, I will be adding my stitch markers to mark for my vertical darts. So I'm getting ready to decrease a few stitches. I'm not sure how many. I'm really bad about reading ahead on patterns, which has come back to bite me in the butt sometimes. So I will be decreasing and putting in the vertical darts here next. So I'm excited to try this out. This is the first Rebecca Clow pattern that I have made, but I'm really enjoying it so far. And like I said, she's just got so many options with her patterns. I'm having a lovely time. I love this. I think I've got about half of a ball left from doing the sleeves. I did add extra length to the sleeves than she recommended, probably about another 2 inches than what she recommended. I just like a longer sleeve. I don't like my arms hanging out. Yeah, the sleeves took about a half of a 50-gram ball. No, strike that, about 2/3 of a 50-gram ball. So I've got a little bit left on that ball to join in and get started on the vertical darts. And then I will have 5 more skeins, so I have plenty to finish this. That is my toasted tea, which I am having a lot of fun with and I highly recommend so far. And then the last work in progress is still my spinning. I am still working from this pack of little mini bits from Hobbledehoy in the different colors. I've got 2 of these, so that's how I'm getting my little minis that I'm making up. So I'm gonna continue working on that. I haven't started a new one just yet. I will probably do that tomorrow. So that is all of my works in progress. So now let's go to needle adjacent. You saw last episode for the baby knit that I'm wanting to do for my nephew and his girlfriend's baby. That's coming in November. Excited about that. I found the cupcake sweater, which is a new release from Tin Can Knits. I have not found the yarn for it yet. I am still looking. When we were on vacation in Texas, we had taken a day trip up to Waxahachie because my husband wanted to go to the Meat Church store up there. That's run by a gentleman who did competition barbecue and did very well. And so he's got a line of seasonings, he sells grills, all that good stuff. And my husband's been watching his videos on YouTube for years. So he wanted to go up there for the day. When he mentioned that, he goes, well, is there a yarn store you might want to go to? So I looked it up and there was. It was literally 1 block over from the Meat Church. So I said, yes, while you're in the Meat Church, I'll go to the Yarn Church. We're on the way up to Waxahachie on Wednesday afternoon. And I got to looking on their website so I could see what brands they carried and kind of get an idea of what I wanted to look for. But one of the things I did want to look for was yarn for the baby sweater. And so I'm looking online and that's when I noticed, oh shoot, they're not even open on Wednesdays. It looks like they're normally open on Wednesdays, but possibly for summer hours, they're closed on Wednesday because their voicemail says they're only closed on Tuesdays, but they were actually closed. I did go by just to check since it was only a block away, but they were definitely closed. So that was a bit disappointing for me. So I did not get to go to the Yarn Church on Wednesday when we went to Waxahachie. That story aside, I am still looking for the perfect yarn to make that sweater. I'm going to be looking a little bit more diligently now. I'd kind of waited to see what I could see at that yarn store, and since that was a bust, I will definitely have to make more of a concerted effort to find the yarn that I want to make that sweater. So that is still needle adjacent. The only other thing that I have that's needle adjacent but is really more spinning wheel adjacent is Tour de Fleece is coming up. I'm not sure if you're not a spinner, you probably aren't aware of what that is, but the Tour de Fleece is when you get together with a group and you spin on all the days that the Tour de France are going. So they do have some rest days in there, and then they have some power days, and so you kind of mimic that in your spinning as well. My friend that is a spinner, she has talked me into doing Tour de Fleece. I've never done it before. So this will be the first time I've done it. So I need to find a group to join and get that set up. But I have gotten quite a bit of new fiber lately. So in that respect, I'm ready. So that's pretty much all I've got for needle adjacent right now. I've got some ideas for my next top, which may or may not be on the needles on the next episode. I've got a couple in my head. I'm just not sure which one's going to be next yet, so I'm not going to mention it. So that's it for needle adjacent. Next up is acquisitions. So even though I didn't get to go to the yarn store in Waxahachie, I did still get some acquisitions since last episode. I'm not sure if you follow Camellia Fiber Co. on Instagram. I did start following them, and June is Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. For Pride Month, the month of June, she's got a special colorway that she only does in June, and it's called Rainbow Sprinkles. And it is so pretty, you guys. This is Camellia Fiber Co. And this is her Serene Merino DK in the Rainbow Sprinkles colorway. I got 2 skeins of her DK, which is so pretty. I'm not sure what I'm gonna make with it yet, but I did want to do something more than socks. I do have another colorway that's similar that's coming, hasn't shown up in the mail yet, that's also similar, that's going to be socks. So I wanted to do something a little different with this. Not sure yet, but it was so pretty I couldn't pass it up. And if I figure out what I'm gonna make in the month of June and decide I need more, I still have a little bit of time to get some more. If not, it won't go to waste, that's a promise. The other things that I got in the mail are fiber. I got 2 new braids of fiber. Both are from Wound Up Fiber Arts. And I got them at different times. She's got her updates that come, and I try and grab what I can because the colors I like seem to go really quick. So this is Wind Up Fiber Arts in her Shanico, which is a Merino Rambouillet blend. And the colorway is called Beautiful Mess. And it's really pretty. You can see it's got like fig and pink and orange and yellow and this pretty aquamarine color. So I think that's gonna spin up really nice. The other colorway that I got also in the, oh no, it's not in the Shanico. This is in the Super Sock. I did not realize that. That's cool. So these are gonna be socks. So this is her Wound Up Fiber Arts Sunshiny Day in her Super Sock base. And this is all just bright neon-y summer colors. It's getting a little blown out, but it's so pretty. It's got orange, the aquamarine, the pink, a little bit of yellow in there, even a touch of green, I think. Since this, I didn't realize this was Super Sock, but since it is, this is gonna be a pair of socks. And I'm excited about that. Now that I know that, I've only ever knit 1 pair of socks out of my hand spun. And that was years ago, probably in 2018, I'm guessing. I got the fiber at the Edinburgh Yarn Fest. I went twice, and I think it was the first time that I went in 2018 that I got the fiber. It was this neon rainbow, and I chain plied it and made it into socks, and I loved them. I will have to try and find a picture of the socks. If I can, I will put them here. And if a picture doesn't show up, I couldn't find a picture of them because they are no more. I don't believe the fiber was meant for socks. I don't think it had any nylon or was superwash or anything. So they did end up felting. Once they got too felted and too small, then I had to get rid of them. But I loved them and wore them until I couldn't. That's all of the new things that I got for acquisitions. But I found a buried treasure that I want to show you guys. So my friend that's a spinner that I mentioned that talked me into doing the Tour de Fleece, she got a new Daedalus stove not too long ago. So she's been playing around on that, and she's been trying to talk me into getting one. And at first I was like, no, I'm fine with my ladybug. And then the more she talked about it and the more I saw online on Facebook and Instagram, I thought, well, maybe I'll get an electric spinner. And then I remembered, oh, I signed up for a Kickstarter campaign many years ago, like 8 or 9 years ago. I don't remember how long it took to fund and for it to come through. I got the item in 2019, towards the end of 2019. I just don't remember if the Kickstarter started in 2019 or if it started in 2018. But either way, I signed up for the Kickstarter. It was for the Electric Eel Nano. And so I got it, and I never did much with it until she mentioned that, and I thought, well, I have that. Why don't I get that out and see if I would like working with an electric spinner? So I was able to find my Electric Eel Nano. I'm going to take some time this weekend. I found some videos about getting started and tips and tricks. I'm going to give this a try and see if I like working with an electric spinner. If I do, I may end up getting a Daedalus, and if I don't, I have this. Or if I like working on this well enough, I might just work on this and not worry about getting another one for a while. Either way, I'm going to give this a try. I've got those little bumps of merino, although I may, with this being a new kind of wheel, and there will definitely be a learning curve on it, I may pull out of my stash some Falkland or BFL or something like that that's a little easier to spin to get started with this. So I'm excited about that. That's all of my acquisitions. I don't know if you noticed, I started a community tab on this channel, and I put a poll up because I briefly mentioned a summer top make-along, I think in the last episode. And a couple of people had expressed interest, but not a lot. And so I wanted to just see if anybody would be interested in doing a summer make-along. So that was the poll. So far, only a few more have responded to that, but it does look like there is some interest, and even if it's only a few of us, that's fine. It's the first one. This is a new channel. Totally fine. If there's only a few, that means there's a better chance for prizes, right? I am going to go ahead and do a summer top make-along. You can do knit or crochet top, however you would like. I think we can start July 1, which I think is a Wednesday. And I thought we could take it through until Labor Day, which is September 7. So that gives us just over 2 months to finish a summer top. Even if you're limited on knitting time, I think 2 months should be long enough to get a start and get going on a summer top. You can use whips, so if you have one that's already started, that's fine. You can enter that too. There will be prizes. At this point, I'm not sure what those prizes will be yet, but we have some time, and it also depends on how many people join the make-along. But I would definitely like to get as many prizes as possible. Like I said, if there's only a few that end up joining us, you might all win a prize. Who knows? I think it'll be fun. I would love some company on getting my summer knit wardrobe going. I've gotten a good start. I've got 2 finished tops, and I have the one that's half finished. I hope to have that done before July 1st, so I'm hoping that I can start a new one on July 1st for the make-along. I don't have a Ravelry group set up just yet. By the time you are seeing this, I may have it up, but I for sure should have it up by July 1. I will get that set up. We will have a thread for the make-along. We will have a chatter thread where you guys can talk about things. We can talk about what patterns we're doing, what patterns we want to do, tips, tricks, just general, hey, how's it going type things. We can show progress. And then there will be a finished object thread that will be just pictures of finished objects. If you are a super fast knitter or you're tiny and it doesn't take you long to make yours, you can have multiple entries. Each top that you finish during the July 1 to September 7 timeframe will count as an entry. I hope that we will have a lot of fun. I would love for you guys to put in the comment section of this video different summer top patterns that you have either made or you want to make. A few that are on my radar are the Tulsa tee that I showed you, that's my work in progress, the Getty tee that I just finished, the Prospect tee that I had finished previously, and then some others that are on my radar are the Gramercy tee by Tori Yu, Going West tee by Kirsten Askanias. I don't know if I said that correct, and if not, I apologize. The Clover tee by Lene Holmes Samso. Again, not sure if I pronounced that correctly, and if not, I apologize. You may recognize her name. That was the designer of the baby dress, the Lily Dahlia, that I made several episodes back for the couple in my knitting group that had a baby. And by the way, they just had their baby while I was on vacation, and I got to see pictures of her, and she is so gorgeous. So I'm very happy for them about that. Another pattern is the Alchemist tee by Woolen Pine, and also by Woolen Pine is the Cloudbreak tee. And then there's the Mellow Mood top by Julia Pirro, and the Agave top by Yumiko Alexander. Those are kind of all the ones that have been on my radar, that are on my list that I would like to make. I'm going to try to figure out how to make a bundle and put it in the Ravelry group, and I will put all of those patterns in that bundle. I've heard other podcasters doing that. It's just a matter of me figuring out how to do it. So once I get that figured out, I will have that set up, and then any that you all recommend in the comments, I will also add to the bundle. And I think there might be a way to let members of the group add to the bundle, and if so, I will open that up so that you can add them directly if you want to. Those are the bare bones of the summer top make along starting July 1. That's just a few days from when you see this video. Get that going. I hope to have more details ironed out by the time this goes up, which is in about a week. Not sure if I will. Like I said, by July 1 for sure. That's all for the summer make along that I have currently. Let's go to general. So I haven't been watching a lot. Like I said, I was on vacation, so we just kind of watched whatever was on the TV there. The one thing I did watch that just started back up is American Ninja Warrior. I love that show. I watch it every week. So that will be on my radar for the next few months, I guess, because there's going to be quite a few weeks where they're trying out to see who gets to compete in the finals, and then there's the semifinals, finals, and all that good stuff. So it's probably a couple months. That's on Monday nights on NBC, I believe, at 9 p.m. Eastern. So that's what I've been watching. I did get a lot of reading done. I know I mentioned in my last episode that new book, The Order of the Tapestry by Suzanne Wright, came out, and I read that and I loved it. Well, it put me in the mood to read more of her books. So I went back and I did a lot of rereading of her books. I started with her Devil's Cradle series. It's a trilogy. It's a really good series. Again, I love how she takes people and things that we know, like Greek mythology, that type of thing, and rewrites it into her own world, and it becomes something different. So it's really cool how she does that. And the Devil's Cradle series is similar to that in that she takes like Cain and Abel, Adam and Eve, those people, and she puts her own spin on who they were and what they are and things that are going on in the world. It was a really good series. Like I said, it was a trilogy. Excuse me. Let me have a little drink of my iced coffee. Been talking a lot. My throat's going crazy. I read all 3 of those. Then I went to The Favor by Suzanne Wright. This is one of the non-paranormal contemporary romance that I was telling you about last episode. And it is a marriage of convenience. He needs to marry someone to access his inheritance. He chooses his PA, and all the trials and tribulations that they go through, and then they end up falling in love, you know how that goes. But it was really good. I just like her writing style so much. So the things that she adds in there are fun. Then after that, I read The Pact, which is the story of the oldest daughter of the couple from The Favor. And it's also kind of a marriage of convenience, whereas they had a fling when they were younger. They didn't want the same things out of life at the time, so they went their own ways amicably. But before that had happened, they had made a pact that if by her 30th birthday they were both single, they would marry each other. And he calls in on that pact. And so it's interesting, but it's fun. Again, a lot of stuff going on in the background. They end up falling in love, all that good stuff. So that was a fun story to revisit. And then the final book that I've read since I've seen you last is also by Suzanne Wright. It is the first book in her vampire series. It's called the Deep in Your Veins series. And the title of the first book is Here There Be Sexist Vampires. It's a really good book if you like paranormal, and it's really cool. She takes a whole different spin on vampires. There are 3 different breeds of vampires, and there are pros and cons of each breed. She is, of course, the one considered the weakest, but she's got a very substantial gift. People underestimate her a lot, and she's very snarky and sassy, and it's a good book. So if you like paranormal, definitely recommend. Those are all the books that I've read since we met. 2 episodes ago, I did a pattern giveaway for my Cobblestone Paths sock pattern. There were only 8 comments on that episode, so I decided to give all 8 people a copy of the pattern. And I did post a short about that. And I also messaged or commented on all of the messages that were on that video to let me know what their Ravelry ID was so that I could gift them the pattern. So I've been able to gift 5 of them so far. So there are 3 more that I haven't gotten the Ravelry ID yet for. So if you are one of those 3, please email me at youknittedskeins@gmail.com, or you can comment on my comment in that episode and give me your Ravelry ID. And once I get that, I will get those out to you. So please, if you see this, please go ahead and get that information to me. If you are not using Ravelry, if you're not on Ravelry, let me know that and give me your email address, and I will email you a PDF copy of the pattern. Then last episode, I did a giveaway with Fiber Nymph Dye Works Inversibles in the lemon orange colorway. And as I mentioned, these are two 50-gram skeins. The one has a large orange stripe and a small yellow stripe, and then the other has a large yellow stripe and a small orange stripe. So these are fun to knit up. I've got several colorways in the Inversibles. The winner for that giveaway is Doreen Johnson 5464, and I'm going to put a picture of that here. So Doreen, if you would please email me at youknittedskeins@gmail.com and give me your information so I can get this lovely yarn out in the mail to you. We're gonna have another giveaway. So I think I mentioned when I did the last Leading Men Fiber Arts giveaway that the owner of my local yarn store, Angela, who owns Fiber Infusion Yarn Studio, she gifted several skeins to me for the podcast for giveaways. And so this is another skein of that. This is Leading Men Fiber Arts in their Showstopper base, which is their sock, 75 merino, 25 nylon, and the raspberry parfait color. And it is very much a raspberry pink color. It's very pretty. This will make a great pair of socks. It'll make a nice shawl, a cowl, whatever you want to do with it, it'll be awesome. So I want to know what you would do with it. So please leave me a comment letting me know what you would do with it. If you've used Leading Men Fiber Arts before, maybe what your favorite brand of yarn is. Like I said, I'm looking for yarn for that baby sweater. So if maybe you use yarn that from a company that I haven't heard of before, or haven't tried before. So, you know, just anything about that would be great. And we will draw for a winner for that for the next episode. That's all I got for you today, guys. A little bit longer than the last time. It's not a fun-sized episode this time, but I've been busy, and so I had a lot more to show today. So I hope you enjoyed spending time with me. I hope that you were working on something fun while you were listening or watching. And if not, find something else to work on. You gotta have fun with your hobby, right? I would love to know what you were working on while you were visiting with me. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know there's a ton of knitting podcasts, and I really appreciate each and every one of you that take the time to watch me, to like my videos, to comment on them. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a new channel. I don't have a lot of traffic yet, so the more that you guys like and comment and subscribe, the more viewers can see my videos. So anytime that you do that, I appreciate that so much. And I truly appreciate the support and the kind words that are always in the comments section. I love to read the comments. I try to answer every one. So with that being said, I will see you in 2 weeks. Knit happy, friends.